Progress.
Great. So, yeah, thank you all for joining. Hopefully everyone's doing well. If you don't have or if you when you're not speaking, maybe put your phone on mute so we minimize any potential background music or background noise. Excuse me. That sometimes helps with that. Thank you all those who have provided some questions. We appreciate those. We're looking into those. But I thought you and I to go to the Healey Museum. So I've done a little video, or not, well, it's in PowerPoint, excuse me, of the Healey Museum. So maybe you might be interested in terms of what it all looks like. Hans and Ria were outstanding guests for us, or hosts, excuse me, for us. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start the PowerPoint presentation. And feel free to stop me with any questions, and just let me know if you're are you seeing my screen now? If you can just confirm that you see the screen.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. So we had a chance to, like I mentioned, meet with Hans and Ria. It was Cindy and I, and there was a British couple that was there with one of their daughters, and so again, they were great hosts. And I know Ken Fleming, you know Hans very well. So as we go through this, if you need to fill in any of the blanks for me, Ken Fleming, I would appreciate that. But hopefully we've captured everything properly. And again, you guys feel so. This on the left hand side is the pictures. You come up to the museum. It's about half an hour south of Amsterdam. We are taking Uber there back and forth to downtown Amsterdam, and so you can see there's this depiction, or a model of a Healey out front there, and then it says the Healey Museum in the door. And here's a picture of Hans with 54 FAC, which is a race car that is one of the factory original cars from '63. It will be racing this year at Goodwood. Jack Rawls is co-driving that. With Jake. I'm drawing a blank right now. He's a British touring car champion driver, but he and Jake are going to be co-driving that car, as well as 100S at Goodwood this in September. So that's something you can, if you're interested, you can stream and watch that along. But let's move on to. So I've done this in order as of years. So these are just some of the pictures that I snapped. So from 47, these are not Austin-Healey's, obviously, but there's a Healey Duncan drop head, which is the silver one on the left-hand side, and a Sportsmobile, which is on the right-hand side. So, Donald Healey made working with a number of different body and coach builders through the years in the late 40s and before the Austin-Healey was actually put into production. They are much larger cars than Austin-Healey is, as you may note. And some could say it's an acquired taste. They're probably not as crisp and clean as the hundreds first on the left-hand side, and the Sportsmobile is on the right-hand side. Any questions or comments as it relates to that? Okay, well, let's move on. Next is a Silverstone. Silverstones were produced in 49, predominantly for racing. They had Riley double overhead cam engines. Matter of fact, that the Greenwich Concours earlier this year, an original Silverstone won the class for the cars of Donald Healey. So in that class, it was a very impressive class of cars. We had 4 members from New England that had cars there. But Rich Myers from New Jersey, and also has a place in Newport. He's got an original Silverstone. It's red, and it won that class. But this is a beautifully restored white Silverstone, excuse me. And they were only produced these in 49. They're really designed for racing. You can see how the headlights are inside of the grille. Then all these motorcycle fenders on the outside of those. It's kind of interesting how it's good along there on the bonnet, kind of like those Buicks used to have those portholes on the side of the Buick. So the Silverstone had a similar design there. And you see a hood scoop as well. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to stop me. So then here's AHX 2. This is one of the 20 pre-production. Blair Harbor, who those of who went to Enclave in 2022 in the Poconos. You saw two of the pre-production cars there. This is one of those. And then also in the lobby when we were in the Poconos, we also had a Corvette Cream 100. So that's also in the Healey Museum there. Moving on. This is my favorite car in the world.
Peter,
Please, yeah, go ahead, Ken.
a little bit of history on number 2. Don Pay from our New England group found that car. Back in it was either the late 70s or early 80s, and Bill Wood and Don Pay and I went and picked it up.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. He sold that probably 15 years or so ago. So when you're right, he was very proud of number 2, as he called it.
Yep.
Now, just a quick clarification on that. Was number 2 pre-production car, or was it the second production car?
From what I understand or remember, it was the second Healey ever made.
Right. So this is a pre-production car. It's one of, and Ken Fleming, do you know any more about that?
Yeah, this was a pre-production car of the first 19 or 20 they made. So it was the first production car. With Blair has that car as well too. 138, 030, 081, 031.
Well, that's the first one. And that was at Poconos as well. But I think what Ken's talking about there is that this Don Pay, I believe, had the second production car. It was Healey Blue, but because if you know, but this car here, I believe, is the second pre-production car, not the production car.
Correct.
Peter, Peter, it's Tom Mulligan. The sign in front, the sign in front of it says it's number 11 of 19.
Yeah, it's 11, not 2, I think.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarity on that. So yes, that's great. Okay, number 11, not number 2. My fault.
Two does exist though.
Does it? Okay. Yep. Yeah. And again, I believe there were 20 originally of those pre-production cars. So let's go back to Donald's Coupe. I had the great fortune in 2002 of sitting behind the driver's seat of Donald's Coupe. At that time, it was owned by a gentleman in the UK, Arthur Carter. It was not in driving condition at that point in time, but it was on a transporter, and I had the responsibility of getting into the driver's seat as it was rolled off the transporter and pushed into the UK they would call the marquee. And there was oil dripping out of the trafficator. So I have oil in my pants from Donald Healey's Coupe in 2002. But I think the other thing that's very unique is look at how that rear window pops open. And I don't know if you can see how the dash is very unique. There is one other coupe from 54. It is in the UK. It's blue with a silver hardtop. And I know, Ken Fleming, when you were in Dawlish at the Healey Drivers Meet, the two coupes were together for like the first time, in the great fortune of riding in the other coupe, which at one time was a race car. But now that this Donald's Coupe is in the Healey Museum. I've got a picture of Donald's from that was drawn here on my wall. In order with that, and I know Ken Fleming, you had the great honor of riding in that car with Hans in Dawlish.
I did, yes. I had a chance to ride in it. I think that was the first time it had been driven in 60 years.
Right.
The author never used it, and it's been in the museum for 10, 12 years now, and it's never been used, and they got it running for the meet. So I had a chance to ride in it, yes.
Right. And isn't that a beautiful interior on that car?
It is. It was one of the highlights of my Healey life.
Well, it was mine also in 2002, and again, seeing it again in 2025 was pretty special for me also. But I think some of the unique features of that car. So
one of the other things, Pete,
Go ahead,
Pete, I
Ken,
mentioned
please.
one of the other things that car has, which is pretty rare, is it has adjustable suspension. There's actually a knob on the tunnel that can adjust the suspension on the car. I don't think it's hooked up now, but if you look inside the car,
Really? Okay.
yeah, it's one of the only ones I think that had an adjustable suspension Donald had installed.
And was that adjusting the front suspension on that, Ken?
I believe it was, yes.
Do you recall?
I believe it was the front,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I may have a photo somewhere.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Peter,
Okay.
have you washed those pants?
From 2002. So you may not be aware of, but there was a BN3. I believe there were two BN3s. This car was in the UK. The first time I saw this again was in 2002. It was an absolute wreck, totally rotten to the core. So this was the plan to go from the BN2s before they built the BN4s. And you can see that in the middle picture there, you can see how the chassis is quite different than a standard chassis. And this was using 100 body but fitting a 6-cylinder motor inside there. So you can see it's got a flat bonnet. It does not have it raised the way they did late with the later cars in order to fit the 6-cylinder in there. But this car, it done an incredible initial restoration of the car. It's not a running car. Anyone else have any other comments regarding BN3? Okay, let's move forward. So you may recall reading in the books there was an endurance car that was using for speed testing. This is a replica of the endurance car. So it was this Aston Martin green, absolutely gorgeous car. And then to the right is a Nash-Healey convertible that in red that's also there at the museum. So that's the Nash-Healeys had a six is kind of unique. It had a Pininfarina body. The assembly was done in the UK with Nash running gear. So it's a combination between Nash, Pininfarina, and Healey for building the Nash-Healeys. Fortunately, they do have a 100S in the museum. This is one, I believe there's only 38 left in the world. There were originally 50. And Ken Fleming, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was 12 of them in Dawlish earlier this year.
That's correct. It was the 70th anniversary celebration, and there were 12 100Ss in attendance.
Yep. Yep. So this one's beautiful. I believe this car was there as well, wasn't it, in Dawlish, Ken?
Well, it was there, yes.
Yep. Great. So again, you can see the endurance car in the 100S behind the 100S motor there. You can see how it's different with where the carburation is on the other side of the engine, which typically would be on a Healey, but proper in olive green as it should be. So that's the 100S motor. Then moving on to the sprites. I'm kind of passionate for Iris Blue because I restored that one for my grandson Lucas in Iris Blue. But this beautiful one here, this one's a little bit unique. It's supercharged. So this is from '59, a supercharged one. So it's Iris Blue with the black hardtop. Absolutely beautiful car. See on wire wheels. This is a Rudd Speed car. So this is it's a Mark II. So either 62. If you notice, if you look closely there, it's got headrests. The only time I've ever seen a Healey, and this is according to Hans, this is factory original with headrests. And you can see it's the tricarb Rudd Speed carburetor. I knew of one other in the UK that a member from the New Forest Center there. You can see in the background on the left of there is the BN3 over there. And behind there, you can see there's another project car ready to be restored behind this Rudd Speed Mark II BJA, or Mark II. So this would be, it's a BT7. Then this is one of three. I've had the great fortune of driving this car in 2008 at the 50th anniversary of the Sprite. It was at Goodwood. It was owned by Joe Cox in the UK. You can see it's got a UK registration. This was planned to replace the 3000. It has a Rolls-Royce 4-liter engine. The car is 6 inches wider in the center. So you can see how the engine on the far right, and you can see it's got the automatic transmission. And you can see how it's wider. The dash is quite different from standing there with it does have the wraparound windscreen as you would have had on a BJ7 and a BJ8. But the width of this car is all in the center of the car, and there were 3 of these produced. This is the automatic, and it's now at the Healey Museum. Any comments or questions about that?
We had the one of the white ones, which was a manual car, was owned for a long time by a gentleman here in our area.
Okay.
He actually sold it about 5 or 8 years ago. But it was one of the 2 manual cars. I had a chance to get in that one as well too.
Because isn't one of those in Australia now?
It's actually in Morocco, I think, last I heard.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so this car drove very differently than it was a much, I would say, smoother ride. Had plenty of torque and power as you would have on a 6-cylinder Healey. But this was a 4-liter Rolls-Royce motor that is in this car. And it was more what I call kind of a grand tourer than purely a sports car. But it was a great ride. You can see how it's got the later amber colored turn signals there, and you can see smaller ones on the inside of that, which more that are bullet shaped.
A little side note: it sold for over $1 million when it sold.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well. Hopefully Joe's enjoying that. To the left of that, or in this picture, to the left of that, that's a BN7 tricarb. Unfortunately, I didn't get more pictures of that, but yeah. So this is the Healey 4000. And then in closing, this is kind of an aerial. There's a mezzanine. You can go up on both sides of this, so you get kind of go down, looking down at the car, so you can see where Donald's Coupe's over on the left-hand side. A red square body in the center. You can see up over above this area where the shell sign is. They've got a Bug Eye Sprite there, and you can see the motors along the side there. But so that's a quick experience of the pictures that we were able to take. So we were there for 2.5 hours, and I believe, Ken Fleming, you've been there for much longer than that. All the documentation and the things from John Sprinzel, and even showed the case that Donald used when he went back and forth on the Queen Mary to work out the deals with for selling the Austin-Healeys in the United States. It's amazing all the documentation that Hans has collected there in the Healey Museum. So it was one of the things that it kind of worked out perfectly for the river cruise we did starting in Amsterdam 2 weeks ago and coming down there. So this was on a Saturday. And again, there were just 5 of us in the museum that afternoon. And so we Cindy had a great time with Ria, and I did with Hans. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Just give you a little perspective as it relates to what we had to see at the Healey Museum.
Thanks, Pete. That was a great overview.
Great. Thanks, Les. I appreciate that. So, Les, you had a question, and let me see if I can. Michael Salter sent me a picture, so let me see if I can share that as well. So you're asking about how to attach. Oh darn. So your question was how to attach the number that yours came off. I guess when the motor was rebuilt.
Right, the engine serial number.
Is that right?
You know, it has two little holes on the
the tag.
side
Here,
of it, and I wanted to know how it got attached to the engine block. What kind of
Yeah,
fastener?
let me, yeah, so let me see if I get, okay, I got it. And Michael, do you want to take take Les through in terms of how this is attached?
Yeah, sure.
Mike Salter?
Just trying to unmute myself. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's the thing on the left, not the right. Okay, that's just a
Got it.
Oh, it's a
scale.
ballpoint pen, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And what is
They're
that thing called, Michael?
they have various names, but most people call them drive rivets.
Okay.
They're made of hardened steel, and if you look at the very end of the rivet, there's a plain area. That plain area is the diameter of the hole that you drill to drive the rivet into, and then you just stick it in the hole with through the engine serial number plate, and you tap it in. A little trick: don't drive it in too hard because it'll distort the engine number plate. Just tap it in till it touches the plate, and don't go any further.
Okay.
That's
And
all they
where
are.
do
They're readily available from hardware, from fastener suppliers.
okay, because I've gone to a number of hardware stores and they look at me very funny when I ask for these
Yeah,
things.
you'll have to go to a fastener specialist.
Okay.
Yeah, and now one trick about these little things for those who don't know, very often you'll find that the engine number plate has been removed by chiseling the head off these rivets, and that presents a bit of a problem getting them out. There's two solutions that I've come up with. The first one is to put a small hex nut, like a 1032 hex nut, over the top of what remains, and then use a TIG welder or a MIG welder to weld the hex nut to what remains of the drive screw, and then turn the hex nut, and very often it will come out. If you can't arrange that, then you can drill a hole right next to the original and then put another drive rivet in next to it, and there's just enough room on most of the engine plates to cover up the remains of the other one.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Michael, do we know the age spares or head for Heelys? Do they happen to source these drive rivets, excuse me?
I don't know. I haven't looked, Pete. I just get them from one of my local suppliers
Okay.
of fasteners, a place called Fastenal. I think they're in the States as well.
They are, but they'll only sell you bulks things.
Yeah, that's right. The one 200, right?
Right.
I have a box of 100, and I've only got about 96 left.
So, Michael, would you need a special bit to drill?
No, it's just a regular drill bit, and I think, if I remember correctly, they're 3/16, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go and measure one for sure.
I got
Okay.
mine when I did my car. I got them from either H Spares or Moss or somebody that sells Healy parts.
Yep, very likely.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay. I'll check into that. Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And so, Davo, I saw you were on the call. You had a question regarding voltage regulator. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
You still with us? Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you
the story
have a-
goes, I was idling the car and I shut it off and I went back because the kill switch, I have a kill switch in the trunk. And when I shut the kill switch off, I heard the battery making noise, kind of like a bubbling, like it was overcharging, an overcharging sound. So I started the car back up, put a voltage meter on it, and I was getting over 17.5 volts back to the battery, which I thought was excessive. So I got a new voltage regulator from Moss, pre-adjusted one, put it on there, hooked it up and everything. And now I'm getting a little less, but it's still over 15. And I assume that it should be around 13, 14 volts going back to the battery. So I'm a little confused. I just don't want to roast my battery. This is the old one here. And you can see here, I think the problem was, see that one is burnt off or missing?
Yeah.
So that was the one I replaced. And before I got the one from Moss, I read somewhere if you disconnect the two yellow lines, you could still run it. It's like an emergency fix. So that's what I was doing. I disconnected the 2 yellow lines off it. And that seemed to work until I got the new one. But my question is, should I be concerned with over 15 volts coming back to the battery at idle?
Yep. You should be very concerned. Almost certainly the problem you have is that the ground for that regulator is not good. So the right-hand terminal is ground. Okay, it says E on it. That goes to the chassis of the car, and it has to be a very good ground.
Okay.
If that ground is not good, then the generator is essentially running uncontrolled. And
Okay.
that's almost always the problem.
Now, as I recall, on this one, the ground wire coming out was a lot larger gauge wire than the other one, very thin wire. It wasn't thick like the other wires going to the other terminals.
The ground wire only carries a control current, doesn't carry the full generator current, so it doesn't have to be a big wire.
Okay.
It just controls one of the bobbins inside the regulator.
Okay, so check that ground and just make sure and.
Be absolutely sure.
Okay, very
Are
good.
we also, Michael, are we also talking about the ground that's going to the chassis itself?
Not really. This is the regulator ground. It's very important. If the chassis ground is bad, the engine won't start because the starter won't be able to draw current.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm confident I have a good battery ground.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident on that. But interesting. Okay, check ground. Interesting.
So is there any way to, any other better way to check that ground?
Is there any way to check it?
To check the ground?
Yeah, what I do is I get a heavy jumper wire, not a battery jumper, but a reasonably piece of wire. Put an alligator clip on the terminal on the solenoid that comes from the battery, and then touch it on that terminal on the regulator, and you should get a good healthy spark.
Okay, and that ground is you said that was the E.
Sorry,
E?
it's the E. That's right. E stands for Earth.
Earth. Okay.
Which is real language for ground.
Yeah. And in the end, I'm still looking for 13, 14 volts back at
you should be about. It depends. Actually, it depends on the temperature. It depends on 2 things. It depends on the temperature and the state of charge of your battery. At low temperatures, you'll get a slightly higher voltage because they're temperature compensated.
Okay.
And when the battery is really low, you'll get a higher voltage just to bring the battery up, and then it'll start decreasing.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you.
Great. Anything else, Dave?
No, that was it. I'll definitely try that tomorrow and see if it brings that voltage down. If not, y'all hear from you next month.
So if it doesn't, Michael, what recommendations do you have for Dave if the voltage doesn't come down?
If the voltage doesn't come down, then the next thing that I would tackle would be adjusting the regulator cutoff voltage. But if it's a pre-adjusted regulator, it should not need that.
Okay.
And if you look at the back of the frame on that, there's a small 2BA screw with a hex nut on it. There's 2 of them actually, but one of them, the one on the regulator bobbin, is what you adjust to adjust the voltage output. But you shouldn't need to do if it's pre-adjusted.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Appreciate that. Rob C., you had a question regarding fuel pumps? I thought I saw you on. Yeah. Okay. Great, Rob.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So pretty simple question, but I'm not that mechanically inclined, and so I don't want to order the wrong part. But my fuel pump gave out on me on Saturday. Somebody I ran into gave me a great tip that you could just hit the fuel pump with a hammer to tap the condenser point to get it loosened again, and that got me home. But my question is, it's the first time I'm replacing the fuel pump, and I'm looking at the Moss catalog, and there's like 4 different options I have. One is a universal fuel pump kit by Lucas, and then there's some other ones that are double-ended fuel pumps. So I'm just wondering if anyone's had like a really quick solution to the fuel pump replacement.
So Rob, I'm sure you see my screen again, and it's great with you guys providing questions in advance. I provide these to our experts so they get a chance to do a little bit of research in advance. So this is from Michael Salter, and again, thank you, Michael, for this. So he's identified, and I'll share this link out there also, but that there are a number of other solutions. I think you brought, the solid-state fuel pump, or a facet fuel pump, or that sort of thing. This is one that Michael's identified. It's on Amazon. That he said he's run it continuously for over 48 hours without any problems. I have facet fuel pumps as either my primary fuel pump on my Sprites or as a backup fuel pump on my 100 and my BJ8.
Okay, great.
So I've had very good luck with facet fuel pumps.
I would
But
second
Michael, you want to
that
share what your
motion.
experience is with this really recommended one?
Yeah,
Thanks, Ken.
I have an MGB-GT, and I had a fuel pump failure on that, and I carry one of these with me all the time. It took me about 15 minutes to install it. Jacked up the car, took off the rear wheel, and it had the kit that comes with the pump had the pieces of flexible hose, hose clamps, and then there are just 2 wires, a black and a white. You hook them up, and the thing putters away, and it does an absolutely wonderful job. And this temporary installation is still on my MGB-GT. If you're not too concerned about concours, I would highly recommend these things. I think they're $26, and they're fantastic.
Great. Because I looked at one of them in Moss, it was like $500.
Yeah, so absolutely. And if you're after total originality and you're up for concours, sure. But
No.
if you want something that will work and keep working, I find these fabulous.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then Pete, is this link available?
It
For
is.
me
Yeah,
to-
Yep.
Yeah, well, let me try to hit this and see if Zoom will help us along this. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to go back to the that site that Michael had for us. I'm going to pull that up, and then I'm going to share again, hopefully. Zoom and
No, it's
so
not
it's
right.
so Michael is lives in Canada, so he went to Amazon Canada for that.
Yeah, I'm in
And
Canada as well, St. Catharines.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
great.
Amazon. Yeah.
And
I
that
think
link
if
doesn't.
if you do a search on Amazon for low pressure 12-volt fuel pump, I think it's the first one that comes up.
Got it.
I've had great success with a Huco. I think I mentioned that a few meetings ago. I'm also in Canada. It's HUCO. It's a 13-3000. You can get it in a variation of pressures. And it's made in Germany, and I bought it out of Laftia, and it's on eBay. And it's
So
about 100,
There it
100
is.
125 bucks.
There it is.
Thank-
$14.99.
Oh, you can't beat that.
You could
I've
buy
Thank
had
you,
four
the
of them.
same problem on my Healy recently. I've had it, I think 3 times where it just, when I went to start the car, I didn't hear any clicking in my fuel pump. And I just remember from the old days of the Healy, I just took the back seat off and tapped it gently, and it started right up. And once it was going, it was fine. If it sits for a while, sometimes it would stick. But I was reading online that you can just, some people either replace the contacts or just lightly sand them to clean them. Has anybody had any success in doing that?
Yeah, you can do that, but it is a fiddly operation.
Yeah.
And I guess for some of the prices I'm seeing here, it might as well just be a quick replacement. You're
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not concerned about originality, that's the other one thing about facet pumps is that I had those on AHX 12, our race car. We had two of them in parallel, and we didn't read the instructions properly. And we installed them horizontal, and is perfectly horizontal. And one of them failed, and we went back and read the instructions, as we should have done in the first place. And they're meant to be installed at 45-degree angle. I don't know why, but that made a difference.
Does
Okay.
anybody, I know that both Moss and AH Spares carry the square body replacement pump with solid state contacts. Does anybody, I know it's like $400 or $500. Does anybody use that?
I haven't. I'm not sure if others have. So Rich, you're still running, because obviously you have a Concours car,
Yep.
you're still using, the correct SU fuel pump?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
I had it rebuilt when I, was restoring the car, but it's probably maybe 8 years since I had it rebuilt. So I don't know whether it's just the contacts got, a little dirty over the winter sitting there, or not. And, I know it's a little fiddly to replace the contacts, but it seems like I could just get a piece of real fine sandpaper in there and just rub it over the contacts, if that works. You have any thoughts, Michael or Bob?
I have read that you got to be careful with that because the contacts, the surface is actually silver. So if you use emery paper or something, it'll actually stick in the silver and cause you problems. I understand that the best way to do it is just squeeze them together and rub some paper through contacts to clean them. You definitely don't want something embedded in the silver.
Yeah. Okay, I could try that. But I was just thinking, I know that the AH Spares has the same square body with solid state electronics in it for about 2/3 the price of Moss, even with the exchange rate. So
my 100, body number 174, very early car, still has its original fuel pump in it.
Wow.
All I've ever done is once cleaned the points. It's got a lot of miles, that car. So they're pretty reliable when they're right.
When I had the car, from about 20,000 miles, it ran until about 80,000 miles with the same fuel pump. But I did every once in a while have to tap it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Regarding tapping the pump, if your fuel pump fails and you're in a difficult situation, you can put the clutch in, turn the ignition on and off about 3 or 4 times, and that will make the pump stroke. And it will fill the carburetors, turn the ignition on, and you can drive on. And yet you can go quite some distance doing that if you're stuck.
So what do you do? Say that again, Michael?
You put the clutch in,
Yep.
Turn the ignition switch on and off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. The engine will keep running, turn on, off, and that will make the fuel pump stroke. And it will pump fuel and fill the carburetors. Then you can let the clutch out gently and you can drive on, and you'll be amazed. You can actually go quite some distance that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've never had a problem. I haven't had a problem with once I tap it and it gets going. I've driven like an hour with no problems.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, that's an emergency one.
Okay, but nobody's had any experience with the square body replacement for the original with the solid state.
The SU electronic pumps a few years ago were quite unreliable. They seem to have got over that problem now, and we have supplied quite a few of them without any problems at all.
Okay.
They seem now to be the pump of choice. All the different models of SU pump electronic.
And where do you get those from, Bob? AH?
spares.
AH or ahead for Healy's.
Got it.
Yeah, you can also order them direct from Berlin Services.
From
Or you
who?
can, or you can always go to Order Farm. We have
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, they are made by a company called Berlin Services in
Berlin?
Berlin,
Yeah.
Berlin Services.
They're in the UK, Rich.
That's right.
Can you BUR?
Burlen, right? Berlin.
That's correct. Berlin Services.
And they are notoriously difficult to deal with.
They are.
Michael, I got a question on that facet fuel pump. The 45-degree angle, is that uphill from the tank or downhill from the tank?
Took us a while to figure that out too. The intake is low.
Okay. Thank you. I've got one on the car. It hasn't given me a problem, but it's horizontal.
It'll only give you a problem on a special stage up a steep hill.
Yeah. So the intake is low. Okay.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rob. Rob, any other questions?
Nope, all good. I'm gonna try my Amazon source first and then go from there.
Right. So Rob, don't take Rich's advice about removing the rear seat in your BN7. It's really a bitch to do.
Oh, I know it is. My BJ8 was that way.
Well, no, BJ8's got a back seat. BN7 doesn't, though. I mean, don't remove the rear seat in BN7. Okay. Thank you. Is Jeff Ballard, are you on? Jeff, you had a number of questions. I know you had a number of questions last month as well.
Yeah, my
There
girlfriend
you
said,
are. Jeff, you're owner. Okay.
I don't know how that happened. I've had technical difficulties trying to get onto this.
Okay. Well,
But
you're on, Jeff. So you had questions on steering box shims,
Yes.
wheel cylinders.
Yep.
So why don't we start with your steering box shim question?
Okay.
So you're asking the procedure for checking the shaft and shimming it?
Correct.
Okay.
I've taken the box apart and I found that the stiffness was in the idler gear. And I had a machinist friend of mine remount the brass bushing a little bit so it was free. And then I installed the cap on it and that bound it up with the Moss little paper gasket. And so I added the original gasket and 2 other gaskets and that freed it right up. And so I'm ready to put the steering box back together and want to know how to check for the end play on the steering shaft itself with the end cap. I'd also found the ball bearing race on the upper race closest to the steering wheel was broken and the ball bearings fell right out of it. And so I'm replacing that also.
Just a quick question. What model car are we talking? I didn't catch that.
We're talking about an early BN 406 Longbridge model. Now I have replaced the original one back in the 70s with probably a 3000 a steering box, because I pulled the original one out of my shed and is entirely different, a lot more primitive than the 3001. When I pulled the steering gear out of the worm and removed that, all the needles dropped out. And that was, I found one needle that was damaged or defective on installation, put those back together. And now I'm ready to drop the steering shaft back into the worm and set the end shims.
But again, so Jeff, you think this is a 3000 box you have, not a
yes.
BN4 one? Okay, that's good clarity points. Any other thoughts for question that Jeff has regarding his steering shims, box shims?
Peter, I'll weigh in on this. You may recall I went through this with my BJ8
Yep.
and wrote a paper on it, which is available on the club's website. It was mostly about what I did wrong than anything else. But I did briefly cover those shims. And I did a bit of research on trying to figure out, Moss sells them in various thicknesses, ranging from about, 1/1000th to about 5/1000ths. And I found 4 or 5 of them in there when I took my BJ8 end plate off. But I could not find any information on what is the normal, how much should be in there, and how you check the end play. The best I could figure out, I think we talked about this on this group earlier, that it's a trial and error process. I mean, you put them in, and if it binds, you have a problem. If it's too loose, you'll know it because there'll be some end play at the steering wheel. So I don't have a good answer for that, other than it's trial and error as far as I know. And but if you go on Spare's site, they sell a steering box, and they show how they adjust the end play, and they have a tool for that. They bolt on this little gauge, and it must measure a distance. They take it off, and then they throw the shims back on that match whatever the gauge says. So not much help, probably. Yeah, that's the paper I wrote. And that's what's inside the box, which was a mystery to most people, including myself. So I don't think I've offered much help, other than I think this is simply a trial and error process.
It's actually not that difficult. It's not that difficult. The first thing you have to do is you have to check the worm and the races, but the one races is embedded in the back of at the top end of the steering box. And the other one is under the cap.
Correct.
You have to check that the races on the worm and on the cap and at the top of the steering box don't have any pitting. They are prone to pitting, that's for sure. Then what you do is you put everything together without any shims. Then you put the cap on and you tighten it down just a little bit tighter than finger tight. That's all 4 screws, just a little tighter than finger tight. Then you use feeler gauges to average the gap. That's the gap between the body of the steering box and the cap. And I add 0.02 of an inch to that, and then that's the thickness of the shims that I put in, and I find that it works perfectly. That's the first stage. The second stage is putting the drop shaft in, or the pitman arm, or whatever you want to call it. And it's a similar process. You put it in, you keep tightening the adjuster nut until such time as you feel some binding at the center, and then you back off till you don't feel any binding. So they're not that difficult.
Okay, so let me run. I don't have a problem with adjusting the steering shaft between 2 fingers on the steering wheel, slightly tight in the center. So I've checked the worm gear, and I've checked I'm replacing the ball bearing races on both ends. I have new ball bearing races for that. So I put the shaft into the car with the races. I'm going to add grease to hold the races in place. When I took it apart, I found a lot of this buttery, looked like buttery substance inside the worm gear. The car has not been driven for 45 years, so it may be some kind of grease or build up with the oil. Irrelevant to doing this. So I bring, with no shims, add the end cover and finger tight on the screws, and then check whether it's binding at the steering wheel end, and then use a feeler gauge to check how back off the end plate until I don't feel a resistance. and then use a feeler gauge between the back plate and the steering box. Is that correct?
Not quite. Well, yes, that's one way of doing it. But really, when you tighten those down with your fingers and
Yep.
you know, a little bit, you just want the slightest nip on those 4 bolts, just the slightest nip. Then you'll find that the steering shaft will still turn with the slightest nip on it. Then you measure the 4 sides of the cap, the gap, and average it. Add 2 thou, and that's the thickness of the shims. Do you follow that?
Plus 2,000 for shim. Yep.
Yeah, and
Got
that's
it.
it. Yeah. There shouldn't be grease in that steering box. I know Bob will jump up and down and make a fuss about this, but if you do a steering box correctly, and you are very careful to ensure that the drop shaft has not got pitting where the seals run, it'll hold oil perfectly well.
Correct. The only reason I was going to use a little bit of grease, the green high temp grease, was to hold the bearing in the bearing race in place on the
Yep,
the
I
bearing
understand.
itself.
You've
As
got the box out. You've got the box out of the car, I presume.
No, I don't.
Oh, good luck.
Oh, it doesn't have
That makes it about 5 times harder.
Well, it doesn't have a body on it, so it's quite accessible.
I take them out and I actually assemble the steering boxes with the steering wheel end on the ground and the upper end in my vise, so that I'm dropping everything in rather than trying to feed stuff up.
That's a good point.
Okay, now that the steering peg that goes in the worm, I want to try and get that somewhere in the middle of the worm gear when I drop in the shaft, correct?
Sorry, say that again.
I've got the top of the box off, and when I'm going to drop the steering gear,
Drop shaft in
with the peg.
Yep.
And I want to try and estimate the center of that worm gear when I install that shaft, don't I?
Yeah, what you will find is if you tighten the cover on with the paper gasket, then you'll find when you tighten that adjuster nut down and keep turning the steering box, you'll come to a point where near the center you get resistance. Because the worm has a high spot on the center to stop the car wandering as you're going down a highway. If it didn't have a high spot, the car tends to wander. So it has a high spot on the center. And the idea is that when you've got it on center, there's 0 clearance.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that when I was setting that setting, with my 2 fingers. And so then I want to find the center and then connect the steering gear to the steering arms to the wheels, right?
Yeah. Once you've got that adjustment made and you're happy that it's turning through center without resistance is the way to describe it.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think I got it.
So Jeff, again, what Michael's recommendation is to doing it out of the car on the bench. So it may be something you may want to consider doing to make the job easier. I realize you got it in the car right now, but that's doing it on the bench the way Michael suggested may make your life easier.
Yes, I'm working by myself and don't have anything in front of the box in my way other than the fresh air, the vent, which I've removed. So I have access to everything.
Yeah, you may succeed, but I find that when you try to do it with the box in the car, it's very hard to get that upper ball race to remain in position. Grease may do it for you, but to get that upper ball race to remain in position while you insert the steering shaft.
And I can just add to that is what caused the problem in my steering box, that led to that paper. I had put the upper race in place, and it slipped off unbeknownst to me as I was tightening the end plate. And that tightening of the end plate with the upper race dangling off this column rather than sitting in the cup caused it to break and drop the bearings into the box. And of course, from there, now you're looking at taking everything out to to replace that. So to the point the gentleman was making, yeah, you want to make sure that that bearing is in there before you tighten things up.
The point is well taken. I will remove the box from the car. I'm only talking a couple of, four clamps that are holding it in. So yes, thank you very much for your advice, and I will follow that advice.
Great. So Jeff, you also had a question regarding rebuild kits for wheel cylinders and their availability?
Yeah, I have the original Girling wheel cylinders, and I noticed that the bleeder has the ball bearing and different from the Moss ones. I've already replaced a wheel cylinder that I got from Moss that I was not happy with. It was so I mean, I like the design of the Girlings, and I don't know what everybody else's consensus on the Girlings, but I would think that they are rebuildable and usable.
The Girling ones are reusable, but you have to be very careful because the inner surface of the bore is anodized. And if somebody gets in there with a brake cylinder hone, they take the anodizing off and the cylinder is no longer of use.
No, I've also noticed in taking the Girling ones apart that the metal cup behind it and the springs are much more substantial than the aftermarket ones, which leads me to believe this is a better product.
Yeah, they're much better made.
Where would I find the Girling bleeders and rebuild kits?
Well, I think Moss carry the rebuild kits, do they not? They certainly used to. If you're stuck, I probably have some. The bleed screws, I got piles of bleed screws.
Nice, very nice. I may only be short a couple of them. Now,
the bleed screws you get these days, by the way, have a point on them.
Yes, I've noticed that. I think
Yeah.
I like the idea of having the ball bearing.
And I put them in a lathe and machine that off to give a flat surface for the ball bearing.
Nice. Okay. Peter, can I move on to the next question?
Sure.
Okay, number 3, with the help of a neighbor, we bled the brake 4 times around, got a good pedal, but only 2 inches off the floor. We tried depressing the pedal overnight with the stick, like Michael Salter. I watched your blog on bleeding for the 4 drum brakes, and that made no difference. The rear shoes adjusters were maxed out. Since then, I have replaced the shoes, and I'm getting more adjustment on the rear shoes, but I'm still like 2 inches off the floor with a strong pedal, and I can't. And in the book, it's saying 3/4 of an inch free play on that brake pedal, and I am beside myself, having worked hundreds of hours on trying to get the brakes and replacing a brand new master cylinder, chasing leaks, vacuum bleeding. We went back to the old style of bleeding into a bottle, and that seemed to be more successful.
Well, Jeff, so it said, so you've got a good pedal now. Is this something that needs to be driven? I realize the car's not running right now, but is that something that's going to set up once you get some miles on the car than what you're trying to do right now with it being static?
It is running, and I plan on running it around the neighborhood without a body on it.
Yeah, good.
Once I get brakes, but I'm a little nervous about having a solid pedal 2 inches off the floor.
Go ahead, Michael. I'm sorry.
You will find, or I have found, that if you can get a pedal that's reliably not on the floor, shall we say, you've got a little bit of brakes. If you drive it for a while and keep applying brakes and get the brakes nice and hot and so on, what happens is the high spots wear off the shoes, and then you end up with shoes which are correctly arced for the drums, and then your pedal will start improving.
Great, thank you.
Can I just,
That was my point. Yeah.
can I just elaborate or ask another question?
Sure.
Because a
Go ahead,
friend of mine is having that exact same problem, where everything was just replaced on his BT7, front calipers, rear brake calipers, and we got the car bled. We put one of the Girling master cylinders in it, new master cylinder. We bench bled that, but the pedal, we got everything working very well, just like fella said.
Yeah.
But the pedal is firm, but way lower in the car than we remember, and it does not pump up. In other words, a typical air in the line scenario where if you pump it a few times, your pedal comes up a little higher. It's not doing any of that. There's no softness to it. Car stops. The shoes, everything, brake pads, everything's new. Exact same issue. I've been kind of mulling over in my head what could be causing that. So this was very helpful. I thought perhaps the master cylinder was not bled properly. Is that a possibility?
Unlikely. They're pretty easy to bleed. They like the porter's in the top, so any air that's in there eventually works its way through the master cylinder.
Yeah.
What is your adjustment on the master cylinder rod?
But that car doesn't have the adjustment.
There is no adjustment,
No.
and when you buy the Girling one from the suppliers that offer that, you just popped out the rod that comes with it and put in the rod from your old master cylinder, because there's really no wear or adjustment on that.
Oh,
So
okay.
What you should probably do is start, if you read my blog on it, start by very gently clamping off the brake hoses, then see if you've got a really solid pedal. Because if you've got a really solid pedal with the three brake hoses clamped off, then you can be assured the master cylinder is okay. And then holding a little pressure on the pedal and undo the clamps one at a time, you'll be able to identify which brake is actually causing the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, I'm not able to do that because I have the replacement Moss brake lines that are not rubber. They are like steel in plastic.
Yeah, you brought that up last month. I remember that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Horrible things.
So Tom,
Get some miles on that,
this
Jeff.
won't help anything, but out of curiosity, is this the car we were talking about in the lot on Tuesday night?
I'm not sure, Kevin. I don't recall.
At the dinner, you were talking about. All right, never mind.
A few of us were working on one of our older members' car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, thanks.
I have noticed that there is, I want to put, I've got two rebuilt that are period to my car that I want to replace. The I don't like the OCD and don't like the plastic lid on the newer Moss brand new cylinder. And I noticed right where that steel pipe goes into a new master cylinder that there was a little bit of weeping. I haven't lost any pedal. It's not going down. It's not spongy, but that little bit of moisture bothers me. So I my next step is to replace that new master cylinder with a rebuilt this period to my car and try and take care of that flare. So there's no moisture at all there.
Is this a car where the reservoirs are integral with the master cylinders?
Yes. Yes.
Very early BN4. Yeah, they really are a pain. Yeah, the original ones with the tank cast into the cylinder seem to be a lot better. I don't know what's wrong with those repros. They always leak.
Good to know. So yeah, so maybe I shouldn't mess around with the flare on the pipe so much when I replace the cylinder. Now, what I found when I was replacing the brake cylinders that I was better off making making a good connection between the crossover tubes and then bolting in the master cylinder, the wheel cylinders, and it seemed to make a nice tight connection rather than trying to fit the pipe to the bolted on wheel cylinder.
Yep.
Yeah. Jeff, it's not broken, don't fix it.
I don't like the plastic cap on the later master cylinders.
When do you want to drive your car?
Hopefully I'm going to be driving off the trailer at your shop this fall without a body on it.
I should mention that Summit Racing used to sell. They used to have quite an inventory of those integral master cylinders.
My back hurts.
Okay, bye, Bob.
Same
Paul,
old
sorry.
story. Same old story.
I should mention that Summit Racing used to have quite an inventory of those integral master cylinders, integral tank master cylinders. They may still have some.
I have two of them that have been rebuilt,
Mm-hmm.
and plus the one that I got from Moss, which is not correct.
As long as it hasn't been honed.
It has. They have not. I would not put a hone on any of my cylinders. Thank you. Next question. Electrical system, which has a replaced harness that I got out of Rhode Island many years ago, probably in the 70s. Everything on the electrical system is working except for the push button on the horn.
That's a pretty simple system. It's just there's a wire that runs from the horns to the bottom of the steering box, up through the stator tube to the horn button where it grounds.
That's correct. I've replaced, I had a spliced harness and nothing worked. So I bought a new trafficator and new harness and connected that. So all my lights, all my turn signals, everything is working except for that stupid horn button.
If you ground the cable where it goes into the steering box, that's the brown and purple, I think it is. Does the horn go beep?
I don't know. I don't know.
Try that. So you know if the horn's good.
Try that first. Try the cable where the bullet connector is on the bottom of the steering box. Pretty sure it's brown and blue, is it? I can't remember. Is that? Do you remember, Bob?
I've got two brown and whites on a bullet connector double to a one brown and white.
Do you remember, Bob? Is it the purple? I can't remember.
No, I think the horn is just, isn't it brown and black?
Yeah, that might be right. Yeah. So take the brown and black one and ground it. See if the horns go beep.
Brown, black.
So maybe the issue is the horn itself.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them. I had them operating years ago without a problem.
Check that first. Sometimes you have to whack them with a hammer.
Oh, good idea. And the other thing on the electrical system that is not working properly is I replaced the tank with a later model tank and had to use a hole saw to get that fitting that wasn't correct for my car out of the tank, and then brought it to Collinsville to Valley Radiator, where they welded in the old correct fitting and pressure tested it. And then I put everything all back together after jumping the sender gauge from the battery up and down, and it was working fine. I had a aftermarket Moss sender unit in the tank, which I didn't like the plastic float. I didn't like the little rubber, the bung on the end, which I found in the bottom of the old tank. So I went and pulled my original sender unit, which has a nice brass float. And I watched Michael's blog on jumping the ground from the arm on the sender to the body. So that's my question. Should that fix the gauge? Because I put 4.5 gallons or 5 gallons into the tank and it's reading full. The gauge is reading full.
What was it reading before you put the fuel in?
Oh, good question. I didn't know. I didn't notice. I dumped the fuel. I up and down with the sender out with my finger, jumped to the battery, and the gauge was working perfect. Then I put everything back in, and I put 5 or 6 gallons of fuel in, and I've run the car since then, and the gauge is still on full.
Full gauge indicates an open circuit, if I remember correctly. If you ground the wire that goes to the sender unit, the gauge goes to empty. If you open circuit it, the gauge goes to full. Okay.
So if I add that wire ground that you had on your blog from the sender to the
Oh no, regardless of that, the wire that goes to the sender unit, if you jumper that to ground, the gauge should go to empty.
Okay. Jump wire to sender to ground that out.
Just ground it out, the gauge should go to empty.
Jump wires to sender, ground out.
Then when you take the jumper off, the gauge should go to full. That's where you start.
All right. So when what will that tell? How do I cure that?
That'll tell you that the gauge and the wire to the sender unit is correct. Okay.
Okay.
Then you start working on the sender unit.
Then I do that little jump wire that you did.
Yeah.
All right. That means I still got to
jump in here. I had a similar problem, and I discovered that the fuel tank was not grounded properly. And once I put in a separate ground wire between the gauge and the frame, everything worked perfectly.
Yeah, I had a similar problem as well. And what I did, there's the 6 holes around the perimeter of the sending unit. I added another hole at the same diameter and threaded it. And I ran the ground wire with a short screw so it didn't pass through the body of the sending unit, and took that to a good ground. And that cured my problem.
Yes, originally the sender unit, originally the fuel tank grounds through the fuel line, which is brass, goes all the way to the fuel pump, which is die cast, and the fuel pump is solidly mounted to the chassis of the car, and that's the ground for the gauge. But if you got rubber connection lines or something in, no ground on the fuel tank.
And you can't rely on the screws that you hold the sending unit in, because you put those nylon washers under the heads to seal them, and they don't make a good ground connection. So I added that extra threaded hole, and you do it above the gasket. That's where I added the threaded hole. And use a little short screw, no longer than the flange, and you put your ground wire on there.
Yeah, that's because the original washers were brass or copper.
Yeah.
I'm using a copper washers now, but I have added an SU electronic fuel pump, and that may be the issue, that I need to ground from the tank line to the outgoing line.
Yeah. Is the line from the tank a solid? It's actually a steel line from the tank to the pump, or have you got rubber bits in it?
I believe I started by cutting it and had to put a rubber connector in between it because I had the wrong pipe, because I wanted to add a glass fuel filter with a paper filter inside, and I was going to do that between the tank and the pump. And last month you recommended that no, it's got to go between the between the pump and the carburetors. So I moved it. So I think we've just answered my solution, and I have to jump that rubber connection and make it a solid ground through the whole system.
Yep, that's where your ground went.
Thank you.
So Jeff, your fifth question, I'm sharing online. That's how you get your concourse how you get the guidelines. So Austin-Healey Concourse Registry.org guidelines.
Austin.
I just Googled it. Google.
Okay. Okay. Good enough. Austin-Healey Concourse Registry.
Yep.
How expensive is it?
I don't know, Michael, you know how expensive it is? Like $75 or something?
Not a problem.
I'm not sure what it, Michael's one of the register, 125. Okay, here it is down the bottom. Whole bunch of options there.
Okay, fine. I'll handle that. I just bought the oh, what the hell is it? A book that I found that you recommended last month.
Yep.
I went through Amazon and I got it for way less than $100. I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks on restoration.
Right. Dave Berube, you had a question? Dave, you still on? I thought you put a question in chat. Oh yeah, if you buy a new box.
I'm sorry.
still-
Yeah, I am here, Pete. Sorry to get there. Had to get off the mute.
Your question about the shims, right?
Yeah, right. If you buy a new box, you still got to do all that shim measuring and so forth.
Where's the box from?
I haven't bought it yet. just curious if you have to do these adjustments if you buy a new box.
I bought a new box from Age Spares, and that wasn't necessary.
Is that your recommendation, Michael, too?
Yeah, you can always repair the old box, and unless there's serious pitting on the worm. They are very expensive things to ship from the UK.
I've got a question for you, Mike, or Michael. I've been convinced here by the Healey experts to use John Deere cornhead grease in the steering box. You know, after you rebuilt it, what's your thoughts on that, or should I go back to oil?
Michael, you're on mute.
Yeah.
That's that Bob Yule guy. You don't want to listen to him.
I think Bob Abbott recommended the same thing.
Actually, it's not a bad idea. It's unless the seal and the shaft are in good condition, there's a good chance that regular 80/90 will leak past the seal. When I do them, I make sure the seal surface is in good condition, and then I actually put two seals in. I put one on top of the other, and so far I've been pretty successful.
Well, you rebuilt it for me.
Oh well, does it leak?
No, I put cornhead grease in it.
Well, it probably doesn't leak.
No, I mean it works fine.
Okay. Other questions tonight?
Mike, I'm using the original seal because the seals that they sent me for my steering box from Moss are too small. They don't look correct. The seal looks in good shape. So I have not been leaking 90 weight. So I'm going to use 90 weight in the box when I reassemble it.
The seals from Moss, when you say are too small, do you mean their thickness appears less than the original?
That and the diameter.
Oh, because I know the diameter, of course, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But as Michael said, when I rebuilt the old box and put it on the shelf down the basement, I used two Moss seals because together they were about the same height as the old seal that came out of there. It works perfectly. But if the diameter's off, that's another matter entirely.
Right.
It is a Healey steering box you've got, right?
Yes, I believe it's 3000. It's not an early long bridge.
Only the early BN1 boxes used it.
Okay. Other questions tonight?
Okay, I got one for you guys to think about for next week.
Next
I have a
month.
I have a 1970 MGB GT. Well, think carefully, and it's absolutely original. Nothing has been changed. And I was driving it the other day, and suddenly the engine died. Then within 2 seconds, it fired up again. Then within 5 seconds, it died again, and then it lit up again. Now, the important factor is that the tachometer kept reading RPM. So, if it was a fuel problem, I would have felt one carburetor putter out and it would have died slowly. If it was a low tension ignition system, the tachometer would have died. If it was a high tension ignition system, it would be doing it consistently. But I have no idea why it did it. So think about it for the next month and call me when you finish. It's got me absolutely beat.
Wow.
You have a mechanical tack or a electronic?
They're electronic tack and GTs. Yeah, B70.
What about the
So
coil?
just think
Michael?
about it for a year.
What about the coil, Michael? The wire on the coil?
Well, if it's a coil, then it will, if it's a low tension side of the coil, the tachometer will falter. If it's the high tension side of the coil, it'll keep doing it. I've driven it about 300 miles since, and it has never done it since that time. But it did it once, and I'm terrified it's going to do it to me in the middle of an intersection.
Wow. But you got 300 miles on it since. Wow.
Yeah. Hasn't done it, but I want to know what it was.
Well, every Saturday I go to Old Farts at Tim Hortons, and I'll bring that amongst the boys.
Please do.
See what they got to say. There's some pretty good guys on ignition systems there.
That's what I need.
Okay. Think
Thank you.
outside the box. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. I'll bring it up. I just I've come up with a really good way of cleaning wire wheels. I hate cleaning wire wheels, and you know, I have painted ones and they get dirty really easy.
Yep.
So what I do, you need a compressor and an engine cleaning gun. All right, most of you guys should have that. So what I do is I buy this biodegradable engine cleaner. I spray it all over the wire wheels. Okay, let it sit there for 10 minutes. And then I take some soapy water and put it in a bucket and to get the engine cleaning gun out. And I blast away. You can get in, you know, you don't need a paintbrush anymore or a toothbrush to get in there. It gets right in, you get right in amongst the spokes, right, quite nicely. And then I pull the suction pipe out of the soapy water and then it turns into a blow hose. And when I go around and do all four wheels, I push the car ahead about 3 feet and I repeat it again so you get the top that you couldn't get easily. And I can clean all four wheels in less than an hour, and it's pretty much effortless. And most of the time, is waiting for the stuff to soak in.
Yeah,
and it works pretty slick.
Good suggestion, John.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, speaking of cleaning things, what's the best way to clean the engine compartment? Is this biodegradable soap, or is gunk still good, or what's the best thing to use?
Well, I've used gunk in there. I just saturate it with everything, and then go in with the engine cleaning gun and just hose it all off some soapy water and then rinse it off with water.
And what do you worry about getting the water on? What do you cover up with plastic bags?
Maybe the air cleaners, and maybe take your distributor. Yeah, but if your engine shouldn't be hot. It might help if it was warm, but you don't want it hot. But yeah, I've saturated everything in there, and it cleans up fine.
Good.
Peter, I got a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
I had sound dampening done in my car by Best Buy because they do a lot of it, and they seem to know what they were doing. So I got the pre-cut pieces, and they did it. This is a BJ8. They did it on the front. They did it on the bottom. They did it on the doors. But when they got to the back seats, they said they couldn't do it because their insurance doesn't allow them to jack up the back of the car. And they said that they needed to jack up the back of the car in order to remove the seats, the back seats. And they didn't do the gas. They didn't do the trunk because they said they had to take out the gas tank. Is that all true? Is that accurate?
And you said you had this done by Best Buy?
Yeah, my wife's car was getting a stereo, and I was walking. I had time to talk to the guy, and he says, "Yeah, we do a lot of sound dampening."
Really?
So I'm very happy with the systems that they put in. I mean, I can't remember the name of the company right now, but it was the one that has the Austin-Healey BJ8 pieces, and it's much quieter, much cooler.
Okay.
But I was wondering about, do you have to really go through that trouble to remove the seats to put the back seats insulation? And then in the trunk, do you have to pull out the gas tank?
I'm thinking. Well, I mean, you're not generating that much heat in the back. Well, I guess you got the exhaust, obviously. But most of it's coming through the transmission tunnel in that area there. So they removed the whole carpet set?
They did everything. They took 150 pictures. I asked them to document everything. They did a beautiful job. Everything.
They removed the whole carpet set?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right down to the metal. Yeah.
I'm intrigued. What did this cost?
I thought it was going to be a lot of money. It was a total of, I think they were charging $50 an hour, and I thought it was going to be like a couple of days. It was $600 labor.
Wow.
And you found a increased reduction in heat in the cabin.
It's been reduced. Yeah, it's a lot less.
Well, no, that's what I'm looking for, a lot less. Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, I was at the 4th of July parade here in Katuitt. I was ready to die, and the car was overheating, and I was not about to put the heat on. I'll tell you that right now. But anyway, so I would definitely like to find something to reduce the cabin heat in my 3000, my BJ8. Absolutely.
Yeah, Kevin, it really worked out pretty well. And I did it for the same reason you did. I was coming back from Canada, and unfortunately I got delayed and I hit traffic on 495. It was 95 degrees out, and I was in first and second gear for about 2 hours. And I thought the car was gonna blow up. Really hot.
How hot not inside the cockpit? What was your temperature gauge reading?
Probably 180.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
wait a minute. 180 before or after you had this done?
Well, it hasn't changed that much, actually. I've taken it out on long drives, and it really hasn't changed that much.
So you were in stop and go traffic for 2 hours, and your temperature didn't get above 180?
No,
that is incredible.
No, it got up about 220.
Oh, okay.
It was brutal. I had the roof on with a back window down.
No, I'm talking about the engine temperature, not what's inside the car.
Mine would be about 90 psi on the fuel gauge. Yeah. No, on the oil pressure gauge.
Well, I mean, we're talking the top end of the water temperature is at 220 or 218.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is what's going to do to reduce the cabin temperature.
Yeah.
This did, and it made it a lot quieter internally. When you close the door, for instance, it's like, instead of having a rattle, it's sort of like a modern car. And when you drive, you don't hear the road noise. You hear the muffler, you hear the exhaust system, but it's more of what you want in a car, not the loose pieces and the random noises.
So did you buy the kit and took it to Best Buy and they did the installation for you?
They did.
But you bought the kit and took it to Best Buy?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And where'd you buy the kit?
I can't remember the name of the company. It was one of the companies that provides the one for the for the Austin-Healey.
Is it
Well,
Cool Mat?
was it
Cool
Moss
Mat?
or
Cool Mat? Cool Mat?
What was it?
Cool Mat?
Cool Mat. That was it. Yep.
okay?
Yep.
So you're talking about Best Buy?
Well,
Yeah,
Best Buy,
that's what's
Best Buy
shocking to
has
me.
You can get your radio
Squad.
done and they'll do it.
Yeah, I know,
They'll
yeah.
take care of the heat in the car.
I've never heard of Best Buy doing something that's amazing.
Well, Best Buy has geek squads, right? And then certain geek squads do the car work. They were doing my wife's stereo system.
No, I understand the stereo system, yeah, but
Yep.
okay.
So I know, yeah, but I just
Next
happened
time I
to
have my
mention.
computer, I'll take my Healy as well and tell them to fix that too. Okay, that's pretty cool.
All right, I'll send
I'm
you the
impressed, Peter.
information.
Hey, Peter. Peter.
Yeah.
This Ken. I wanted to go back to to John who was talking about cleaning. One of the things I've done in the past, and I use it quite often when I do clean the cars, on the engine, I actually use bathroom cleaner scrubber bubbles.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
My wife doesn't like it because we always run out because I'm always stealing the cans to go clean the car. But it seems to work, and it's a lot cheaper than buying the gunk stuff. But just bathroom cleaner, the foaming scrubbing bubble to use in your bathroom.
Wow.
I spray that on the engine, and it seems to do pretty well. So that's another trick that I've used for years.
Yeah, good to know.
Where's this Best Buy you went to? I'm intrigued.
Well, it's in Marlboro, and Peter, should I just send the information to you and you can get it out to people?
Sure, yeah. So it's what he's saying, Marlboro, Massachusetts.
Marlboro,
But
yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not sure if you have Best Buys in Canada, but there are many places in the U.S. There, and I do know they can install alarm systems and that sort of thing. I just said it's just very surprising to me, Peter, that you found them. They're willing to do the installation kit like that. That's great.
He says he does it a lot with other cars.
Wow. Okay.
When they put in a high-end sound system and people don't want any
No,
rattles.
yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Okay.
Getting back to my first question, though, I just was curious about if you have to take out the gas tank to put in this system for soundproofing, or do you have to jack up the car, the back, to pull out those rear seats to put, because I have these extra pieces that he said he couldn't install.
Well, on a BJ8, you do have to jack the car up to take the rear seats out because they're held in with little studs and 1032 washer nuts. If the car's in good original condition, so yeah, that would be a reasonable suggestion. They'd have to take the rear seat pans out, and to get insulation right down the back side of the gas tank, which is what they probably want to do. Yes, you would probably have to take the gas tank out to do that too. So he's probably right.
Okay, good to know.
But Michael, would there be room to put the insulation in?
Sorry?
Would there be room to put the insulation in between the back seats and the gas tank?
It'll be. I think they'd sort of sit up high, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure.
Mine are too high to have the back. What do they call it? The luggage rack or luggage carrier.
They got to go flat.
Yes, they won't go flat already.
That's right.
So,
Kevin, it is quite thin, this material,
okay.
but it works quite well.
Well, Peter, if you're interested, so Peter, if you're interested, you could bring the car down to my shop and get up on the 4-post lift, and we can get the rear seats out very easily. Obviously, you can remove the gas tank too.
Love it.
If that's something you'd want to try as maybe a tech session this winter.
In the winter would be ideal. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you the information. Send you some pictures if you want.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. We can share it with the group. Other questions tonight?
I have a comment on the cleaning.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
If you don't drive your car for 45 years, all you have to do is dust it. Thank you, gentlemen.
So our next call will be September 8th. It's always the second Monday of the month. Again, I was away. That's the reason I didn't get the original announcement out early, but it's always the second Monday of of the month, and so that's September 8th. Those of you who are in Massachusetts, on the 23rd, on Saturday the 23rd, there's a British car and German vintage car show at Mansfield Airport. So those of you who are in Massachusetts, if you're interested in coming to that, that's Mansfield Airport. They got planes that fly into that as well. Our summit's coming up on again September 28th to October 2nd. We have sold out the primary hotel, but we do have rooms at a secondary property that's about 4 miles away. So there's still availability for folks who want to join us for Summit 2025. We are celebrating 50th anniversary of the New England Austin-Healey Club.
Pete, is the Audrain event the weekend before or the weekend after?
Weekend after, October 5th. Yep.
Okay.
And it's that Sunday after that. Maverick, my grandson Lucas, his Blue Sprite's is going to be in the 30 under 30 class. So that's for cars that are less than $30,000 and the owners are less than 30 years old. So he's very excited about getting his car. I know Ken, you met him when we were down in Greenwich a couple months back, and so he'll have his Sprite in that class. I've also been asked to be a Concord judge, not in that class, obviously. They have not assigned classes yet, but it will be the second year that I've had a chance to be a Concord judge at Audrain. So that's on Sunday, October 5th at the Breakers in Newport.
Well, that's impressive, and we met him at your house, so.
Yes, you did. Yeah, Lucas was there. Yeah, so he's gonna be a junior at the University of Rhode Island. So
yep.
Is the Audrain a one-day event, or is it
no, it's actually a 4-day event.
Okay.
It there's events. They've got sessions. I think they start on Wednesday. Obviously, with Summit still going on until Thursday morning, I won't get down there until Thursday afternoon or Friday or Saturday. But Jay Leno's going to be there. A couple different sessions he's running along with Donald Osborne. But if you go to Audrain, Ken, for the specifics as it relates to their Concours, I think they call it the Audrain Concours Week. It's not a whole week. But I think it's 4 or 5 days. But the main Concours, similar to what we saw at Greenwich, is on the Sunday, October 5th.
Can I ask one question? I know we need to go. I want to ask one question.
Go ahead, Ken. Yeah.
You know about this, and this is to the whole group. Is anybody familiar or remember Ray's Auto Sale in Newport, Rhode Island, which was a BMC dealer back in the 50s and 60s? Is anybody familiar with Ray's Auto Sales? George Ray was his name.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that earlier. Charlie, does that ring any bells to you? I know you're on the Cape and not in Newport, but does that ring any bells to you, Charlie?
No, it doesn't. No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay.
We had a BMC dealer. It was Chris Bullock in Hyannis, but nothing in Rhode Island.
Okay.
I remember there was a interesting dealer as you were coming up into Newport. On the right, the road to
Middle
go to
Road,
downtown
Steve.
Newport, you would bear right. And I don't remember if that was
that's Middle Road. I think it's in Middletown, Steve, where you're talking about. And Ken Fleming, I think don't you have a sign from there?
Well, I have a sign from Ray's, that hung in the dealership window. It was, from what I've been able to find out, he was there from 53 to 67 and then moved to another shop, was not a dealer, just kind of a service shop up until about the 80s. And he also sold Humbers and Hillmans and a few other things. But it's a neon Austin-Healey sign that hung in the window of the dealership. And I was trying to find a picture if somebody had seen might have a picture of the sign or in the windshield from up that way. So,
I think what Steve Pierce was talking about, I remember, like, even within the past 10 years, as you're coming south from Middletown on Middle Road, heading towards Newport, on the right-hand side, there was a shop there that said it had one of those. It had a large Austin sign. It didn't say Austin, I believe it said just Austin. And but it obviously wasn't a dealership at that point in time, but it's no longer there. But
I heard
was,
it ended up at a bar, at some bar in Rhode Island. Some bar has it
Okay.
on, is what I heard. That
Okay.
sign, that particular sign, but I haven't seen it, but that's what I heard.
Will you have to go to every bar in Rhode Island to find it?
No, I was told that when doing my search. But George Ray just passed about a year and a half ago. Didn't know that till I talked to someone in his family, so didn't get a chance to inquire with him about the sign. But his nephew, who I think Pete, you hooked me up with, I can't remember the guy's name.
Yes. Yep.
Is kind of looking through the family records to see if they have anything. So I thought I'd ask on the list.
Hey, Ken, I'll also send you Nick Waller. He's the CEO of the Audrain.
Okay.
He may now he's a Brit. He wasn't around here. He wasn't in the U.S. back at that point in time. But he's a real good contact and real good guy. I'm not sure if you met. He was at Greenwich.
Okay.
But I'll send you his contact information, Ken.
Okay.
And he may be someone to reach out to. May know of possibly a bar in Newport that may have that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is Mike Salter still on?
He's on mute.
Yeah,
I'm
Michael's
here.
on. Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay, a question for you. Have you got this electronic ignition distributor or points?
Sorry, say again.
You got electronic ignition or points?
That car has points.
Any chance your condenser's failing?
Well, I would have thought another 300 miles it would have done it again.
Well, I mean, it's a cheap thing to replace.
Yeah, that's right. I'll put. I think it's probably still the original, so maybe I will.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll give it a shot.
Sure.
Okay.
Just a quickie. A couple of sessions ago, we talked about extending the exhaust pipes to get keep the fumes from coming into the cabin. And I did get some from Gibson Performance Exhaust that I thought were really good. They're very, very heavy stainless steel, and they curve down rather than going straight out. They're good looking. So the part number is Gibson Performance Exhaust 4315.
Okay.
Anybody want that?
And they fit. Now, do you have a standard, Jack? Do you have a standard exhaust system on your car?
Well, it's been replaced, so I don't know how standard.
Right, but you don't have a 2-inch exhaust like a big bore exhaust. You've got the standard size exhaust.
Standard size exhaust. But
Yeah.
they're pretty nice.
And where were they located?
Well, they're called Gibson. I did them online. Just Google them. Gibson
Okay.
Performance Exhaust.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
Part number Gibson 4315.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jack.
Okay. I did have
Okay.
to exhaust pipe because they're a little bit long, but that's no big deal.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you all. Appreciate it. We will look forward to talking to you guys on September 8th.
Thanks
Take care.
always.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great,
Night.
great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank
You
you.
can tell I'm in the Atlantic zone. I'm in the dark.
Uh-oh. Well, we're in the dark here in Massachusetts too right now.
Yeah. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you, Peter.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye-bye.